My neighbor Harold showed up at the airport last month expecting a routine flight to visit his grandchildren in Phoenix. He had flown dozens of times before without any issues, but this time, something unexpected happened at the security checkpoint. The TSA officer looked at his driver license, shook her head, and pointed him toward a separate line. Harold had no idea what was wrong. 45 minutes later, he was $45 poorer and nearly missed his flight. His license was missing a small star in the corner, and that tiny detail cost him money and caused him tremendous stress. If you are planning to fly anywhere in 2026, you need to understand that the rules have changed dramatically. Some of these changes will actually make your life easier. Others could cost you real money if you show up unprepared. The travel landscape this year looks nothing like it did even 12 months ago, and seniors are feeling these shifts more than anyone else. Airlines, airports, and government agencies have all implemented new policies that directly impact how you move through the system. What I am about to share with you comes from official government sources, verified airline announcements, and first-hand accounts from travelers who have already experienced these changes. None of this is speculation or rumor. These are the actual rules now in effect at airports across the country. By the time you finish watching this, you will know exactly what to expect and how to prepare so you can travel with confidence instead of confusion. The first rule involves your identification, and it is the one catching the most people off guard. Starting February 1st, the TSA began enforcing a $45 fee for any traveler who arrives at security without a real ID-compliant license or other acceptable identification. This is not a suggestion or a warning anymore. It is active enforcement happening right now at every airport in America. If your driver license does not have a gold or black star in the upper corner, you no longer meet federal requirements for domestic air travel. Here is what happens if you show up without that star. The TSA will direct you to use something called TSA Confirm ID. You will need to verify your identity through their online system, which involves answering personal questions and providing additional information. This process takes anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, and you must pay the $45 fee before proceeding. That fee only covers a 10-day travel window. If your trip lasts longer than 10 days, you may need to pay again. A simple 2-week vacation could cost you $90 in fees that are completely avoidable. The solution is straightforward, but requires action. Take out your driver license right now and look at the top corner. If you see a star, you are fine. If you do not see a star, you have two options. Visit your local DMV and request a real ID-compliant license, or use your passport for all domestic flights. Many seniors are choosing the passport card option because it costs $65, remains valid for 10 years, and eliminates any confusion at the checkpoint. Either way, do not wait until the week before your trip to address this. DMV appointments can take weeks in some areas. The second rule represents one of the biggest changes in airline history, and it specifically affects anyone who has been loyal to Southwest Airlines. On January 27th, Southwest officially ended its open seating policy after more than 50 years. The airline that built its reputation on letting passengers choose any available seat has completely transformed its boarding process. If you have not flown Southwest since late January, you are in for a surprise when you reach the gate. The familiar A, B, and C boarding groups are gone. Southwest now uses 8 numbered boarding groups, and your position depends on the fare you purchased and your loyalty status. The airline has also introduced 3 tiers of seating. Standard seats are located toward the back of the plane. Preferred seats are closer to the front and allow faster deplaning. Extra legroom seats provide about 5 additional inches of space and are positioned near the exit rows and in the first few rows of the cabin. What does this mean for seniors? If you valued Southwest because you could board early and grab an aisle seat near the front without paying extra, those days are over. The cheapest basic fare now assigns your seat randomly at check-in. You could end up in a middle seat at the back of the plane with no option to change unless you pay an upgrade fee. If sitting in a specific location matters to you for mobility reasons or bathroom access, you will need to purchase a higher fare category or pay for seat selection. This is a fundamental shift that affects trip planning and budgeting for millions of loyal Southwest customers. The third rule actually works in your favor, and most travelers have no idea it exists. The TSA quietly introduced guest pass programs at more than 20 airports across the country, allowing non-ticketed visitors to accompany travelers through security all the way to the gate. This is a significant reversal of post-9/11 restrictions that prevented family members from escorting loved ones to their departure area. Think about what this means for senior travelers who need assistance. A spouse or adult child can now apply for a guest pass online, receive approval from TSA, and walk with you through security to your gate. They can help you navigate the terminal, carry your bags, and wait with you until boarding begins. When you return, they can meet you right at the gate instead of waiting at baggage claim. Airports currently offering this program include Kansas City, Cleveland, San Antonio, San Diego, Seattle, Orlando, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Oakland, and several others. Each airport manages its own application process, but the general requirements are similar. Visitors must apply online up to 7 days in advance, provide identification details for TSA vetting, and pass through standard security screening. For seniors traveling alone, or those who feel anxious about navigating large airports, this is genuinely helpful. The catch is that not all airports participate yet, and availability is limited during peak travel times. Check whether your departure and arrival airports offer guest passes before your trip, and have your family member apply well in advance. If all of these new rules are making you realize how much has changed since you last flew, I put together something that covers these situations and dozens more. The Airport Survival Guide walks you through everything from avoiding hidden fees to handling medical emergencies abroad. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments below. The fourth rule involves what happens when things go wrong with your flight. The Department of Transportation implemented new automatic refund requirements that took effect in late 2024, and enforcement continues through 2026. Under these rules, airlines must provide automatic cash refunds when your flight is cancelled or significantly delayed, and you choose not to accept rebooking or travel credits. Here is what qualifies as a significant delay. For domestic flights, any delay of 3 hours or more from your scheduled departure or arrival time entitles you to a refund. For international flights, the threshold is 6 hours or more. Airlines can no longer hide behind complicated policies or push you toward vouchers when you are legally entitled to your money back. If your flight is canceled for any reason and you decide not to travel, the airline must refund your ticket automatically within 7 business days for credit card purchases or 20 calendar days for other payment methods. This protection also extends to fees you paid for services you did not receive. If you paid for a specific seat assignment and were moved to a different seat, you can get that fee refunded. If the Wi-Fi you purchased did not work during your flight, that money comes back to you. If your checked bag is delayed more than 12 hours on a domestic flight, the airline must refund your baggage fee. These are significant consumer protections that many travelers do not know exist. The fifth rule addresses something that affects many older travelers. You no longer need to remove your shoes at TSA security checkpoints. This change technically began in July 2025, but many travelers still do not realize it applies to everyone, not just those with TSA pre-check or seniors over 75. The TSA eliminated the standard shoe removal requirement after implementing advanced screening technology that can detect threats without requiring you to take off your footwear. This is welcome news for anyone who has struggled with balance issues, arthritis, or simple discomfort while standing on one foot in a crowded security line. You can now walk through the screening process with your shoes on. The only exception occurs if the scanner detects an anomaly around your feet, in which case officers may ask you to remove your shoes for additional inspection. But this is now the exception rather than the rule. Seniors 75 and older continue to have additional accommodations, including the ability to keep light jackets on during screening. The sixth rule involves mobile driver licenses and digital identification. The TSA is expanding acceptance of digital IDs at hundreds of checkpoints throughout 2026. If your state offers a mobile driver license through Apple Wallet, Google Wallet, Samsung Wallet, or a dedicated state app, you may be able to use your phone instead of a physical ID at security. This is still a pilot program and not available at every airport, but the list of participating locations continues to grow. For seniors comfortable with smartphone technology, this provides a backup option in case you forget or lose your physical ID. Your phone becomes a verified identification document that TSA officers can scan at the checkpoint. However, I recommend always carrying your physical real ID or passport as your primary identification. Technology fails, phones die, and apps malfunction at the worst possible moments. Consider digital ID as a backup rather than your primary document. The 7th rule concerns boarding and seat changes once you are on the aircraft. Airlines are enforcing assigned seating more strictly than ever before, even after the plane has finished boarding. Reports indicate that passengers are being prevented from moving to empty seats, even when entire rows remain unoccupied. Flight attendants are instructing travelers to remain in their assigned seats unless crew members specifically authorize a change. This may seem minor, but it matters for seniors who experience discomfort during flights. In the past, you might have moved to an empty row to stretch out or relocated to an aisle seat for easier bathroom access. That informal flexibility is disappearing. Airlines protect their seat pricing strategies by preventing free upgrades through seat movement, since passengers who know they can move to better seats after boarding have less incentive to pay for upgrades in advance. If you need specific accommodations, request them when booking or speak with a gate agent before boarding rather than assuming you can adjust once on the plane. Let me summarize the 7 rules you need to remember. First, bring a real ID-compliant driver license or passport to avoid the $45 TSA Confirm ID fee. Second, understand that Southwest now uses assigned seating and 8 boarding groups instead of open seating. Third, check whether your airport offers guest passes that allow family members to accompany you to the gate. Fourth, know that you are entitled to automatic refunds for cancelled or significantly delayed flights under new DOT rules. Fifth, keep your shoes on during security screening unless specifically asked to remove them. Sixth, consider setting up a digital ID as a backup if your state offers mobile driver licenses. Seventh, expect stricter enforcement of assigned seating once on board and request any needed accommodations before the flight. These rules represent the biggest changes to air travel in years, and they affect every passenger, especially those of us who value predictability and preparation. The travelers who understand these changes will move through airports smoothly. The ones who do not will face delays, fees, and frustration that are entirely preventable. Thank you for watching. If this information was helpful, please subscribe so you receive updates when more rules change. Share this with anyone you know who is planning to fly this year. The more prepared we all are, the easier travel becomes for everyone. Stay safe out there and fly with confidence.